It's
Enforcement keeps them honest.
it's not what it once was, but it's still there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not gonna. So let's get started, sir. You ready?
Yes.
Home run. Hey, today we're thrilled to have Brian Frazee with us. Brian's an Air Force veteran who served as an airfield manager overseeing critical operations that supported high stakes missions, including those involved with the President of the United States and Air Force One. After his military career, Brian pursued his lifelong passion for baseball and sports, completing specialized training through sports management worldwide. He now works with the Baltimore Orioles as a minor league Hawkeye operator for the Chesapeake Bay Sox, where he contributes to game operations and player development technology. His journey from military service to the sports industry offers valuable insights on leveraging skills, overcoming transition challenges, and chasing dream careers. Finally, for baseball enthusiasts, Brian has an intriguing family tie. He's connected to Harry Frazee, and if you know, you know, but I'll let him tell that story. Did I manage to get it all in there, Brian? Did I miss anything?
No, you kind of let the trail got it started.
All right. Hey, I'll start easy. So, I mean, can you kind of share with us a bit about your Air Force service and airfield management and what initially kind of motivated you to punch out and move on?
Yeah, I've joined the Air Force at 18. Didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Ended up being an airfield manager. I liked it. It was an office job with a truck, so I got to drive around in the airfields, go to a lot of cool places. Um, did that for 20 years. I made Master Sergeant at 15 years, and then it looked like I wasn't going to promote again. My wife is in the Air Force. She's a Master Sergeant now. We're stationed over in England, but she was kind of my, well, you're not progressing. You're not really happy with not progressing. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And I had to have that like talk with myself. If you get out of the military, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, the thing I know besides the military is sports. Let me see what I can do there. And so I kind of had the support from her to get out and try something completely different.
Like I hinted at in the beginning, I know you have a deep family history of sports and all that, but was there somebody like closer to you still working in sports industries where you had that exposure beforehand?
No, like once I started like taps and I made my decision I was going to retire, I I had some leave I had to burn, so I ended up going online to like all 30 MLB teams' websites, looking for different people, going on LinkedIn and trying to find a military connection. And I actually found a guy who currently works for the Padres, but at the time he worked for the Los Angeles Angels. He was a EOD, Army EOD tech, E8 when he retired, and he was running security for the Angels. Now he run head of security for the San Diego Padres. And so I just sent him and a bunch of other people links on our messages on LinkedIn and just kind of asked, hey, I'm a transitioning veteran, think about jumping into sports. What advice do you have? And out of about 100 people I messaged, probably about 20 responded. And then maybe about 10, 15 out of those 20 then responded back to my previous messages. But the first guy I contacted was actually my biggest kind of mentor and like push, like you can do this. People don't understand how much military experience relates and puts you ahead of people just fresh on the job market or fresh out of college.
So what was it about the military experience that translated so well to the industry?
Well, you think about it, everything we do, you're not able to be mediocre. Like every job you do is important, it's there for a reason. So excellence is something you do every day and don't realize it. Something that was a little tough for me, my first job after the military, I was working as a dispatcher at Monumental Sports at Capital One Arena in DC.
Hmm.
Not everybody comes to work excellent. Some people are just there to collect their paycheck and go home. And so, like for me, if you're going to get me out of bed and get me in the office, I'm there to work. And so, by me doing my just normal routine, immediately set me apart from my coworkers and kind of helped me rise up. And it worked when I worked for Major League Baseball, and it's working so far for the Orioles.
Yeah, did you I mean I had some experiences with kind of bringing that attitude in the civilian world. Did you have any problems with people like basically their attitude was, "Hey man, you're making us look bad."
Yeah, I got called like an overachiever, or they're like, "Oh, you're a tryhard." I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm here to work and I want to keep working well. I'm not here to just coast and collect a paycheck." Like I have a pension from my 20 years in the military. I have VA disability. I don't have to work. Like right now, I'm a house husband during the off season. My wife pays the bills. I go joint on any big expenses, but like I work because I want to work. And so for me to go into the office or like this next season, my wife's going to be here in England. I'm going to be spending the season away from her. It's going to be worth my while. I'm going to go there to work. I'm not going to go there to escape.
Yeah. Well, especially being separated from the family for a while, that's got to be a little tough. I mean, are you in your work, are you on the road or is it, strictly a home job?
Well, last year it was fortunate because she was stationed at Andrews, so I worked for the Bay Sox, which are in Bowie, Maryland. So depending on traffic, was anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours to get there.
Yeah.
But I was able to stay in the same place as her. We've just transitioned since we moved to England in October. But I mean, her and I, when we met, I was in the contingency response group in Guam. So I was off the island every month from anywhere from 2 days to 3 weeks. So we're used to being apart. And I mean, when I first joined the military, that's how old I am. We had two 50-minute phone calls from deployments using a phone card. And that's how you stayed in touch with your loved ones. Now you can video chat, you can Zoom, you can text, you can talk to anybody almost at any moment. So it's a
Yeah.
lot easier than it used to be.
Or like when everything first kicked off in '03, borrowing a buddy's cell phone, having to pay him $2 a minute for me to make like a 3-minute phone call. Yeah, it was
Absolutely.
like, yeah, there's four phones on base that get off. And I got hung up on one because I remember saying, like, yeah, we're flying like crazy. That was all I said. And all of a sudden, boop, connection gone. I was like, oh, that was not very specific, but okay. So on the skill side, what you're getting at is, did you find that kind of like those skills and that high pressure operation, no fail thing translated well? Do you think that was like a thing that you took directly as that dogma brought it in and kind of helped you kick that door in?
Well, because a lot of the daily things we do in the military are high pressure situations, but because they come so routine to us, they're not high pressure. And
Yeah,
so, working in baseball, for instance, we had a server error, and they're like, "Oh my God, can we ask you to go to the server room and go check these cords?" I'm like, "Yeah."
just
They're
tell
like, "Are
me.
you sure? I know it's not like your normal scope." I'm like, "Okay, where's the room?" Like, it's not a big deal. Like, you're asking me to take a couple steps and go plug something in. They're like, "Oh, okay. We just if you don't feel like you can do it, don't do it." And it was kind of like the bar is so low because when the military, the bar is so high. So when you get to the civilian side, a lot of times it's easy to be above average because they don't expect what we do. Like my average must be higher than some people's average, which I'm sure that's the same for a lot of people in the military. Like
Hmm.
we're there to work, we're there to like you ask us to do something, it's no is never the first thing you say. And so like it's always yes, how do I do it? Or yes, I can do it, but this. And that's not something that people in the civilian world fully understand all the time. Sorry, there's a emotional support cat over here.
Yeah, mine just ran across my feet. I totally get it. Yeah, they're like, oh, you're on a meeting? Here, let me turn around to face you and face the other side towards the camera.
Yeah, we got
So,
him in during COVID, so anytime I video chat, he thinks he needs to be here.
hey, cat's got habits. So, like for the folks interested, kind of like let's say getting into baseball, how do they break into that industry? Like, what steps did you take to pivot from airfield management to Hawkeye operator of all things? I mean, what were the steps that you took to get yourself in position?
Well, I was actually pretty lucky. First job I applied for, I got at Monumental Sports in DC. Like I said, I was a dispatcher working basketball, hockey, and concerts at the arena, just kind of connecting emergency, security, medical, whatever needed to be done. And then the second job I applied for was a job with Major League Baseball, working as a compliance monitor in DC and Baltimore. And I got that job too. So I worked both those jobs at the same time. Kind of the baseball job for Major League Baseball was more compliance. So we're checking baseballs before the games, inspecting them, giving it to the umpires. We're policing the clubhouses, the fields, and you're making sure players, teams, coaches are following the rules and then reporting violations. And as much as I liked that job, I liked being able to interact with the major league players. I didn't like just being the guy who's got to walk around and say, "Hey, sir, please get off your cell phone." Believe it or not, some of
Right.
those millionaires don't like that. And so at the end of that first season, I decided I want to work in baseball, but not that. So I emailed my boss with MLB, said, "Hey, I really like working in baseball. Can I do anything else?" He goes, "I don't have anything else for you. Submit your resignation." And then he said, "But if you want to keep working in baseball, go to the winter meetings." And So I did a bunch of research about 2 weeks before the winter meetings in 2024, and then flew to Nashville on like 2 weeks' notice, booked a hotel, found a conference, and literally like the winter meetings is just all the MLB teams, the league, a bunch of independent leagues, just setting up a hotel. They take over conference rooms. There's job fairs. There's all these things that I was completely unaware of that I just learned by showing up and going to the winter meetings. Uh, this past December, I went to Orlando. I went to my third straight winter meetings, and it's basically just a big networking event. Like it's people talking about how they got into baseball, trying to encourage other people to get into baseball. And as I said, there's career fairs that are sponsored by baseball and sponsored by teams. Like one of them they do every year. The Baseball Industry Network sets up a meeting hall where they have all 30 teams have tables and literally hiring representatives from those teams sitting at the tables for 3 hours. And you basically just stand in line, you give your 30, 40-second elevator pitch, and you kind of ask them like, what openings do they have? Or if they like you, you get invited to like after meetings. Like 2 years ago, I got invited to a after meeting with the Dodgers to kind of discuss what type of people they're looking for and them to kind of ask questions about us and what we're motivated to do. And more times than not, they were just blown away by the military background because I've only ran into a handful of people at the winter meetings that were prior military. We're kind of an unknown commodity to them, and they're excited to kind of learn what we do and what we're about because it's different. We're not just college kids taking sports management classes trying to work in sports or former baseball players. Like the biggest thing for me was I didn't realize like I thought you had to be a former baseball player to work in baseball, and that's not the case at all. I've met guys who are literature majors, people that went to law school and then didn't want to be a lawyer, so now they work in baseball. They work contracts. People that are psychologists who are doing mental health skills for baseball teams, and like that's stuff we do all the time in the military. We're managing people, we're managing problems, we're helping our troops manage mental health, and you have those jobs in baseball, and that's just there's such a depth of jobs that you're not aware of until you start searching for that type of things. And it's just every year I find new information when I go to these meetings.
It's kind of like the military, most people who don't have any exposure, you say, "Oh, I was in the Air Force." "Oh, you were a pilot?" "Yeah, we're all freaking pilots." And I'd have like a kid come in and a young man, young woman, whatever, come in and say, "Oh, what kind of jobs do you have?" And I would tell them, I was like, "Hey, look, this is an Air Force base. Think of a small town with an airport. We probably have the job that's attached to that." Do you find baseball is very similar to that?
I mean, they have everything. Like they have if you don't know about baseball but you want to work at baseball, they have ticket sales, they have marketing, they have guest services, they have security, they have their own medical. They have the teams have chefs. Like there's a chef in every home and away clubhouse that are cooking meals for these guys. Like I have friends that went to culinary school that I'm encouraging to try to get these jobs with these teams because I was like, you're already going to be above and beyond because you've got military experience and now you've got a culinary background because they do in-depth especially with all the gambling issues lately, they do in-depth background checks on people. That's probably the biggest downside to working in sports. Like when I worked for Monumental and MLB, I couldn't bet on basketball, in WNBA, NHL, UFC, or MLB. So if you're a daily fantasy or a gambling guy, all that stuff's gone as soon as you work for a team.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea, especially as the chef. Like, "Hey man, starting pitcher's not gonna have a good night because he is hot as a kite."
Game to eat chili dogs.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, how did you get into the winter meetings? Was there special tickets or reservations or anything like that you had to make?
I just booked a hotel nearby, booked a plane ticket, and then, like I said, there's free career fairs they do there. And then basically the MLB and all the teams just take over the hotel. So like there's free entrance in the lobby. You don't check in. You just walk in. Like for example, the first year I met a couple people that were trying to do the same thing I was. So we had our little clique that we kind of worked the lobbies. I had a couple of broadcasting guys, a girl who was working in marketing, and then me who was trying to get into player development, baseball operations. So when we would start talking to people in the lobbies and the bars, as soon as we realized who they were, what they did, we would do an introduction with one of our wingmen. Be like, hey, you need to talk to my friend Lisa, or you need to talk to my friend Tom. And we were talking to these technology guys. They're talking about this data pad they're trying to sell to MLB teams. And they're like, oh, do you want to meet our friend Sam? I'm like, oh, hi, Sam. He goes, hi, I'm the assistant general manager of the Cincinnati Reds. I was like, hi, I'm Brian Frazee. I applied for a job with the Cincinnati Reds. Can you tell me about what how you got your start? And just literally walking around, talking to coaches, former players, general managers, and all kinds of team staff. It's just because you're there. And like a lot of guys you talk to there, that's how they got their start, is they either played baseball or they went to college and they knew somebody wanted to work in baseball and they just went to the winter meetings, networked their butts off, and then eventually got a job. And my job at the Orioles this past season, the guy that hired me, I met at the winter meetings the year prior. He was at the Orioles table at one of the hiring fairs. I gave him my spiel and kind of sent him an email every few months during the off season. And then when I applied for a job at the Orioles, he called me. He's like, "Hey, Brian, I saw you applied for this. Let's talk about it." And he ended up hiring me.
It's pretty cool, man. So that kind of dovetails nicely with my next question too, because it's something we harp on. Talk to me about the different ways you've got to network on the baseball side and sports that might be a little different than like the regular LinkedIn thing.
Well, I recommend the LinkedIn thing, like going through, looking up teams. The thing with baseball is there's only 30 teams, and even their minor league teams are run through the major league teams. So there's basically 30 staff that are hiring a limited number of positions. And like one example we got this year from the Reds, coincidentally, was they put out a job application for like an entry level team. Within 2 hours, they've got 1,500 applicants. And so they
Oof.
closed the jobs like almost immediately. And so when you're networking, like I think the face to face means a lot more than just a name on a resume. Or if you do send someone a LinkedIn, they're like, oh, that's that person that sent me a LinkedIn. You can't just leave with like a whole paragraph. You gotta kind of leave a breadcrumb of trail of like, hey, my name's Brian. I'm an Air Force veteran. I'm interested in working in baseball. What advice do you have for me? That's something that I learned. Like the first year I went to the winter meetings, it was, hey, I worked for MLB. I applied for this job with your team. And as soon as I would tell like the someone from the team that, hey, I applied for a job at the Reds, they're immediately like, oh, that job's already been filled, or I'm not the guy that hires for that. And so they're thinking about that. They're not thinking about me. So as I talk to people, I kind of changed my little elevator pitch. And this year was one of my more successful years when talking with people because I wasn't necessarily job hunting, I was more networking.
Mhm.
And so, like, hey, I'm an Air Force veteran. I worked for MLB. I worked for the Orioles this past season. What advice do you have for me as like applying my military skills to working in baseball, or what parallels do you see? And then I saw the different wheels turning in their heads, and them asking me more questions, trying to find out more information about me instead of me just rambling about myself for 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, they're starting to take some interest. You threw some breadcrumbs out there. Go, I'd like to know more about. That's clever because if you don't give them the whole story and it's compelling enough, they're going to start probing you, asking questions, and getting them right in your corner. Is that was the battle plan that you took?
That was the battle plan I took, and it was super successful. I'm not going to name the team, but next week I have a Zoom meeting with the COO of one of the major league teams because I happened to run into him at the hotel bar. I heard from someone else that he was looking for like a problem solver, and I was like, I'm his guy. He just doesn't know it yet. So I made an
Yeah.
introduction, left enough breadcrumb trails, and then sent him a couple LinkedIn messages. He and I exchanged emails, and then next week I have a one-on-one Zoom with basically the number three for an MLB team.
That's freaking awesome. Good for you, man. I hope it goes out well. Um,
Thanks.
so let's talk about some of the danger warning cautions of networking. What are some things you've seen like, ooh, hey, this is a because this is a very different type of networking. This is more social, in place, and it's also a little bit more like a fraternity. Would you say that?
I would say it's easy to weed out the people who don't know how to handle themselves around other adults or adult beverages. Because
Yeah.
as I said, these people are just walking around the hotels, they're walking around the bars, and there are a few people within the league that I've closed down the bars with, but I make sure to supplement myself with water. I have a friend who
Mhm.
doesn't drink at all, and she's closed down the same bars with us. She just drinks her tonic water and lime, and no one asks any questions, no one judges. But we learn, like I learned in the military not to overdrink or to act a fool in public because
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time overseas. So like I go out and I have my beverages, but I don't ever overstep. If I start to feel like I've been drinking too much, I just leave. But you make sure it's it's the same as any social situation, but this is still a professional social situation because I've heard stories of people that got hired at the winter meetings and then were fired before they even started, like before the winter meetings ended, because they either acted a fool. There's a story of, I think it's in Miami, someone fell into a fountain the night after they got hired because they were celebrating,
Ooh.
and so they lost their job before the winter meetings ended. And so it's just the dangers of social networking in any situation, but these guys are all professionals, they're all winding down, and they're all there for business because like they're there for hiring fairs, they're there for their internal team meetings, and they're also there meeting with free agents and agents for teams they're trying to hire. And so you've got to understand that you can have a few drinks, but you got to know your limits and also know your audience and know what to say to people. Like for instance, this year, a lot of talk, people would try to goad you into conversations about a possible lockout after the following season because the agreement between the players' union and the league is coming up. And so, as soon as someone would mention that to me, oh, what do you think? But like, I would try to change the conversation and try to pivot instead of maybe if I had too many drinks, I'm like, oh, these owners, they're too
Yeah.
greedy. That's the guys that are paying people like me to work for their teams. So you got to know your audience and know your own limits.
So one of the things we were talking about, and I won't give away a team or a name, but perhaps you could give away like kind of the individual's position. You said that basically he had set up a trap on his credit card to watch that happen.
There are people who like to watch the world burn. So there's a unnamed official that will sometimes keep an open tab, and when I hang out with him, I don't pay for drinks. But also, every time he asks me if I want a new drink, I don't say yes because I've seen him make sure people always have a beverage, and you kind of see him weed people out that way. Because a lot of people that work in baseball, it's like the military. It's a small community, so everybody knows everybody, or they know somebody who knows somebody, and so it's real easy for you to make a bad reputation and basically be ruined in baseball right away.
Yeah, so he would basically set it up, feed everybody drinks, and see if they could handle themselves like adults, especially out on the road dealing with other stuff. Is kind of what that
Absolutely.
sounds like to make sure that, hey, if I send you out to, Missouri to, talk with the team and you're out there at night, you're not going to make us look bad.
Exactly, because just like the military, you represent your branch, you work for a team, you represent that team. So you have to be able to control yourself and be able to represent that team with pride and not embarrass them. Because just like the military, it's the easiest way to get fired.
Yeah, and it comes at you fast like life. I mean, especially, hey, I got hired today and then I got fired the next day before I even filled out a W-2. That's a tough night out.
Yeah.
So on the training and all that stuff side, you did the sports management worldwide. Can you talk to us about that? What that's all about?
So, as I mentioned, the first winter meetings I went to, I found a career conference that was actually through Sports Management Worldwide. So, since they were the first thing I found at the winter meetings, and I was in a rush to just find a reason to be there to kind of learn more information, I signed up for their career conference at the winter meetings. They basically do panels breaking down everything from like they have agents, they have broadcasting, they have marketing, they have AI now. So they have experts in all these fields that come and talk about either how they got their start in baseball, things they're hiring in baseball, and just basically advice. They're there to help. But Sports Management Worldwide also offers like different courses. Like the course I took was a player development course taught by former Major League General Manager Dan Duquette. He was the general
Oh, yeah,
manager of the
Boston.
Red Sox and the Orioles. I took a course with him because I was trying to get into player development because I saw a lot of parallels in military training and developing airmen and developing baseball players because you build a training plan, you give them honest feedback, you watch them develop, you continue to give them feedback, and you make them the best they can be. That's exactly what you do in baseball. It's just on a different terms. Instead of training people to operate a system, you're training them to operate their bodies or to throw a fastball or to throw a curveball or to hit a breaking ball, hit a fastball.
Mhm.
So I took the class with them. I recommend their classes. Uh, they do offer military discount. I've just that's the only class I've because when I do things, I don't do anything halfway, and so I want to dedicate myself fully. And so it
Yeah.
is like a college course in a sense. So it is a lot of work. But the class I took was very beneficial, and I've had friends that have taken like their scouting courses, their AI courses, and they've all had good things to say about them. I just haven't had the ability to commit myself as much for all their courses.
Yeah, is there any other like certificates or education out there that somebody can go and get where you say, hey, that's going to be a hell of a good foot in the door?
Sabre, I know, is another one that's an analytics. They have a lot of different courses you can take through them. Baseball Connect has a few courses. I've taken one of, I took their intro to baseball course just to kind of prep myself for the winter meetings 2 years ago. Uh, I I think the more you Google, the more you search, there's more companies popping up that I've seen. Uh, I can't think of the guy's name. There's a guy on LinkedIn who's actually working to help. He's a former baseball coach who's now hiring, helping people get hired to work in for baseball teams. So I mean, there's lots of opportunities. Just the more you look and try to find what avenue you're trying to do, which was the hardest for me from the beginning. It was like I wanted to work in baseball. What do I want to do? So the more you reach out to people, you kind of ask how they got their start. The more you look at different courses, it kind of helps you kind of narrow your scope and try to find, okay, yeah, I think this is what I want to do.
It's good stuff, man. So, I left it kind of hanging out there. Talk to me about your family history in baseball on that one, because I figured somebody'd say something by now, but we'll just peel that band-aid off because it's kind of interesting. And kind of how do you think that shapes when somebody finds out about it when you're walking into something? Because I got to imagine it goes both ways, like ball busting, and then like, wow, that's really interesting.
Well, it's a pretty good icebreaker depending on where people are from. Like if they're from Boston or the Northeast and they're big Red Sox fans, it doesn't always go over well. If they're
Hmm.
Yankees fans, it's kind of interesting to see the
Oh.
reaction. So Harry Frazee, my great great uncle, used to own the Boston Red Sox. Uh, he is the person who traded Babe Ruth for $100,000 and a baby grand piano and caused the curse of the Bambino, where the Red Sox didn't win a World Series for 86 years.
Hmm.
So for a long time, I was a Red Sox fan. My dad would say, don't tell anybody, because you couldn't buy like a jersey with Frazee on the back because people would be like, hey, is that some sort of joke?
Like Billy
Uh,
Buckner.
And then after they won their first World Series, it was a little easier. And then as they kept continuing to win World Series, it was a lot easier.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people I've met who work in baseball are actually from the Northeast. So I kind of feel people out, get to know how big of a baseball fan are they, or how big of a Red Sox fan are they before I tell them that story.
Hmm. And where was that money spent?
He financed a Broadway play that did not go over well, and then he went bankrupt.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. I
not
just
exactly the shiniest family story and not inspirational to own a team, but working in baseball still seems like a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he still owned a baseball team, and nobody can predict what every player is going to come out to be. So I look back on it and say, oh, hey, hindsight's 2020. I'm sure he made some trades where it was like, yeah, and don't forget to put some new wheels on that one because it's about to fall off. But people don't remember the big bad stuff. But it's kind of interesting that you're at the other end of it, building your career back into it, with that, knowing like, hey, I can make things better and do my own thing. That's pretty good stuff. So how did when you're talking about this stuff coming in, did you find that like your military experience was already highlighted for these guys because they knew like, oh, this is gonna be a good fit. He gets the structure, the organization, the oomph. Or did you have to kind of explain it in ways if you got the interview or on the resume for them to get it? Was it automatic they understood, or was it kind of like, this is new?
I think it's kind of an unknown thing for them. Like the kind of mantra I've pushed and kind of told people is we're not all pilots in the Air Force. We're not all carrying weapons all the time. Like there are times like we're deployed carrying weapons. So like we're not don't believe everything you see on movie and TV shows. Some people are just we do normal jobs that happen to be involving airplanes or military uniforms. And so I kind of had to break the demilitarization to them. Like I think they're more afraid I'm going to come in and knife hand somebody or start yelling at people because that's all they see in the military. They don't see casual, calm conversations. And so a lot of it almost puts you on notice to where you have to make sure that in stressful situations, you're the calm, you're the easy one. I'll give a good example. When I worked for Monumental Sports, before they renovated Capital One Arena, we had some guests get stuck in an elevator. So everybody's freaking out. They're like, "Oh, call a medic, call this, blah blah." Like, what do we do? I was like, "Stop." I said, "You call fire department. You send security over there. Grab someone from maintenance, take them to that area, and we'll handle it." And within 20 minutes, we had him out of the elevator. But it took someone just being calm, being that center, like problem solving. Okay, step one, we do this. Step two, we do that. And so for me, like as an airfield manager, if you know anything about airfield management, we manage everything that happens on the airfield, construction, driving, landing clearances. We don't, not air traffic control, but like landing permission. Like you're coordinating everything that happens, and nobody knows anything about it unless something goes wrong. So I did that for 20 years. So managing a problem in an arena, managing a problem with a server, it's literally just a checklist. Like just, okay, we do this, we do this, we do this. It's not stressful. It's an easy job. And so most sports jobs, they're not life or death. If you're security, you're medical, that's different. But this most stressful day as that Hawkeye operator, we had no internet. They're like, our systems aren't talking. What do we do? I was like, do we have Wi-Fi? They're like, yeah. I said, does anybody have a laptop I can use? They're like, yeah, we're good. And we managed a three-computer system on a laptop for 2 games. Problem solved. They're like, oh, we never would have thought that. I was like, it's calm. It's be calm, think smooth. We got this. And that's made me, I feel very successful each step of my post-military career.
So for the folks that don't know, can you tell us what the Hawkeye system is and kind of all the crap that goes around that?
So the Hawkeye system, every major league ballpark, and I think going into next season, all of the minor league ballparks will have this system. It's a series of cameras that take photos at 300 frames per second. And basically, if you watch a baseball game, you see all the stat casts, like the exit velocity on a hit, the spin on a baseball, speed, the distance they covered. All of that data comes from this Hawkeye camera system. Hawkeye is the brand, and then Major League Baseball leases that on behalf of the teams. So for my job this past season, I sat in the press box at the AA team. I managed this system, basically just setting up the cameras for every game. And because it's taking so many photos per second, you almost have to adjust it pitch to pitch and as like the daylight changes to make sure that you're capturing the best data because that data is used for scouting, that data is used for analysis, that data is used for player feedback and potentially impacting these players in their careers. Because say you have a pitcher who's lights out, but none of the spin data was captured, they're like, well, we don't know what was successful. We don't know how to replicate that. And so having to make those just little minuscule adjustments leads to team success and individual success for the players.
Yeah, so you're dealing with stats that come out to be millions and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no pressure there.
I mean, but it's sitting. I was getting paid to sit in the press box, watch these players who, guess what? With the buoy being that close to Baltimore, I'm getting to watch major league players come down and rehab. And so you're getting paid to do this and you're sitting in a computer and it's click, click here, click, click there. Server's not working. Go plug in the server. The Wi-Fi's down. Go get a laptop. Go
Exactly.
figure this. It's stressful, but it's not nearly as stressful as an average day in the military, if that makes sense.
Hey, nobody's trying to kill you.
Exactly. Not that I know of.
Yeah, if they are, they're doing a terrible job. So, on some of the stuff you're talking about. So, what advice would you give to folks dealing with the mental and emotional aspects of transition, especially when it's for most people getting into a job in professional sports seems like an out of reach thing, yeah, good effing luck. I mean, how did you deal with that stress and that change, maybe change of fear of change or
Well,
failure?
for me, it first starts with support. I had the support of my wife and I had financial support. So like a lot of baseball jobs, and if you talk to people working baseball, the entry level jobs don't pay well. Uh, the average pay I've had in I've been retired 3 years now, between $15 an hour and $27 an hour. So if you're trying to support yourself fully on that, it's going to be a little tight. But I had the support of my wife. I had my, like I said, my pension. I had my VA disability. So I was working in baseball to work in baseball, not for the paycheck. Basically, as long as it covered my gas and my housing, I was good. I wasn't worried about anything else because I could afford anything else with my wife. The second was just the drive. Like, I want to work in baseball. So, like, for instance, after I worked for MLB in 2023, and I told my boss I want another job, went to the winter meetings. I wasn't in baseball in 2024. I applied for, I think, 65 jobs, couple callbacks, one interview, didn't get a job. So I finished my bachelor's degree. I took that player development course, had a conversation with my wife. I was like, hey, nothing this year. Should I pivot? She's like, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I want to work in baseball. She's like, well, then keep trying to apply for baseball.
Cool.
So I developed a plan, rewrote my resume, and then went to the winter meetings again. And that was where I ran into the guy with the Orioles who hired me this past season. It was just about perseverance and knowing what I want to do. And like this past season, I went to the winter meetings in Orlando, and I'm running into people from teams that I've known now for 3 years. They're like, "Hey, Brian, what's new? What's on the horizon for you? What have you been doing? What do you need?" Like they're asking me because they remember me because I've been doing this for 3 years. Like the story makes sense. They like me, my attitude. I don't go there and act a fool, and they know that I want to work in baseball because I've been coming on my own money for 3 years to the winter meetings in different locations, and I'm there to network. I'm talking to people and like just having that drive to continue, like, what else can I do? Who else can I talk to? And working towards my goal.
Yeah, the without money thing you just mentioned was a pretty good indicator. I hadn't thought about that. You're spending your own money to be there, whereas probably 90% of the other folks, their team's paying for it or their business is paying for it. Did you find that like once people found that out, they were like, really? Or was it okay, it's kind of normal, but good for you?
Well, this year in particular, because we moved to England in October, and then I had to fly from
Oh,
England
yeah.
to Orlando in December. And so they're like, "Oh, where'd you fly in from?" I'm like, England." And they're like, "Okay, tell me more." And then I would lead it into like being former military. Sorry, my wife being currently in the military and us being in England. They're like, "Oh, you must really want to work in baseball. You flew all the way from England." I'm like, "Yes, I am, and I do. That's why I'm here."
That's good. So like you're talking about the entry level stuff. So, for folks on this call who maybe do just about anything, whatever it is, or are willing to make a pivot, what are the typical like entry level opportunities, in areas like game ops, development, management, that you go, that is a job that's perfect for a military individual. They can walk in the door and start crushing it. Maybe it's not great pay, but it gets them in the door.
Well, most stadiums have an event operations, and so they have dispatchers. That's what I did at Capital One Arena. And you basically sit at a computer, you have live feeds of the entire arena, and you basically, someone from guest services calls you and says, "Hey, we need security. Hey, we need medical. Hey, we need this." And you literally have a radio and a computer, and you put in stuff. It's dispatching. It's stuff
Hmm,
that any military member can do because we've worked either CQ or SDO or some sort of command post type operations where you're getting calls and then connecting people. So that's an easy one. Security, like there's entry level security jobs at every sporting arena, whether it's basketball, football, NFL, everything. College sports, they have those. There's developmental programs to work, like player development is technically the realm I'm in with the Hawk operator. It's operating a camera system. Can we train you to operate this computer and then trust you to work it? That's an entry level job. There's people that intern in college and have these jobs, or get out fresh out of college, they have these jobs. Um, there's athletic trainer jobs, there's nutritionist jobs. Like these, they have, if you go on Teamwork Online, that's where a lot of the baseball teams advertise their jobs, Teamwork Online. And a lot of sports are on there, but baseball specifically, almost every team puts their applications on there. The one thing that's a little different is baseball's hiring season is basically from November till about March, and most of the hiring is done before January. So like I said last previous year, I wasn't in baseball. So like from August to November, I was building up my resume. I was already had a job alerts set on LinkedIn, job alerts set on MLB, and everything I could think of to go ahead and prepare myself and be ready. So as soon as I saw a job application, I would tailor my resume to that job and submit. One
So
more thing that I thought
yeah.
of, MLB does a diversity fellowship every year. This year they renamed it the Billy Bean Fellowship. Part of their diversity programs, they include veterans. And so the last 2 years, I applied for their veteran fellowships, where they either assign you with the team or they assign you with the league office for 18 months. And you basically bounce around and they try to figure out how to work you or what jobs you want to do with either the team or with the league.
So that kind of leads into some mentorship stuff. Did you find that like, some mentorship? Now you've been kicking around the league a little bit for some time. And, have you found a couple of mentors that are really making the difference, or do you find it's a little bit harder to find mentorship in that industry than like what we're used to in the military side?
I don't get it's hard at all. I was surprised with the openness of people to talk to you. I think it really comes off with how you present yourself and how you kind of ask questions. Like the first year I went, I was always, as I said, hey, Brian, I applied for this job with your team. And I changed that to what advice do you have for me? And then so some of the people I would then follow up after the winter meetings and send them an email or send them a LinkedIn message. Hey, had a great conversation. I updated my resume based on your feedback. What do you think now? And trying to continue those conversations. And then the thing that I've been told recently, not specifically to me, but from other people, is there's a thin line between persistence and annoyance. Like if
Yep.
you're emailing people every week, like, hey, how's everything going? They're in the middle of a baseball season. They're working. They're busy. Like they don't have time to respond to every single message. Or if you send somebody 3 paragraphs, they're not going to take the time to read that because they want to be able to actually take in the information and respond properly. So if you just send them a couple lines, they're more likely to respond than if you are to send them your whole life story in the first message. It's talking about breadcrumbs, like, hey, it was great talking to you. Let's follow up in a few weeks. Or, hey, I applied for a job with this team. Do you know anybody there or anybody I can talk to over there to kind of find out more information about that? Like just finding your little windows of opportunity to talk to people and ask questions. Always ask questions and then ask them how they got their start. People love to talk about themselves. Like for me, that was a hard thing coming from the military is I'll talk about myself all day, but I don't want to. Like I feel like nobody wants to hear me. So I want to make sure when I talk, it adds value to people. And so talking to people in baseball, tell a little about myself, and then asking them like, hey, how did you get your start? And then trying to find a parallel to that. Like, oh, that's like me trying to do this. And then you're kind of they relate to you more and they're more likely to respond.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, people do like to talk about themselves in some fashion. So feed their ego. They could say how great they are, and then you can kind of say, hey, you know what? I had a similar problem, or I feel similarly about that. You start building those relationships without being full of crap, basically. You're being genuine.
Yes.
But, you're also taking advantage of like people's nature. Um, so I can't imagine it was all fairly smooth sailing. So if you had to go back 3 years and give yourself a piece of advice when you started this journey, where would you go? Dude, don't do that crap or do that more.
I think one thing I would have done differently is I think my job at MLB, even though I didn't love working in compliance, it would have benefited me to stay in another year just to continue networking from the inside versus having to network from the outside.
Hmm.
Um, One of the reasons I did end up resigning that job was because I was in compliance, I didn't feel comfortable then applying for jobs with teams because it felt to me like, hey, you can't do that. But by the way, if you're hiring, I'd like a job. Later, I kind of found out from talking with people at the league office that I could have done both and they wouldn't have felt that way. So I wish I would have had the confidence to kind of ask that question. Like I didn't realize how supportive people in baseball were until I went to that first winter meetings. And I went to that winter meetings after already working for the league. I kind of, because of my luck, I didn't have the understanding that I wish I would have had. So I wish I would have known that it's normal to job hop in baseball. It's normal to talk to more than one team at a time. It's loyalty is appreciated, but not always expected, if that makes sense. Like if you follow baseball closely, GMs, general managers jump teams all the time, players jump teams all the time. Like it's part of the business. It's not it's not blind loyalty. Like I have people that I'm loyal to because they hired me or they gave me really good advice. But if they're not the team offering me a job, I'm going to take the other team's job. That's just part of the business. So I
Yeah, from
wish I
the
would have known
outside,
that before.
yeah, from the outside looking in, I've always looked at professional sports as like, hey man, it's a cutthroat business because you got to be the top performer, otherwise you get moved on. We've seen amazing players get traded, like Mookie Betts. Like a guy like that gets traded, and you go, wow, baseball's cool. But you're saying from like the inside, it's a little bit different. What as a non-player, there's a little bit more loyalty, a little bit more love. Is that kind of your feeling?
Yeah, I feel like we're all replaceable, just like in the military. So I mean,
Yeah.
like this past season, I was a Hawkeye operator. I feel like a lot of people can do that job. Would they be able to do it to my level? Maybe, but not everybody. And so I think that's most jobs. Like I can't throw a 100 mile an hour fastball. I can't hit a baseball 400 feet. So I'm not getting hired for any of those jobs. I'm getting hired for jobs that other people are fresh out of college or people that have had other professional experience. So your competition level is different. So you got to find what sets you apart and your work ethic that's going to push you through that. But I feel like the job opportunities are there. I think it's very inside baseball. Like you need to know somebody. I feel like I could have got hired for my job the year before if I would have known the guy that hired me. It took perfect circumstances of meeting him. It took networking, him having a beer with him at the bar may have been the difference between me getting hired and not hired. Like it's that type of social networking and perseverance of applying for these jobs and trying to like going out of my way to talk to people. Another example, last year after a Bay Sox game, I saw the general manager of the Orioles, Mike Elias, sitting there watching the game. And I was like, man, I really wish I could go talk to him. I went to my truck. I was texting my wife because I was going to go home. Guess who was parked right next to me? The general manager of my team, Mike Elias. I said, you know what? This is maybe your one time to talk to him. I got out of the truck. I said, hey, sir, do you have a few minutes? He said, yeah, absolutely. Introduced myself, talked to him, asked for his advice and then didn't think nothing of it. A couple days later, I talked to my boss. I was like, "Hey, by the way, I don't know if it's a big deal. I talked to the GM the other day." He said, "Well, what'd you ask?" I said, "Well, I asked for advice." He goes, "Man, I wish I would do that." Like this is a guy who's been working for the organization for 6 years. Hadn't had that opportunity. I took the opportunity and made myself do it because you never know what that conversation is going to be. I tried to run into him at the winter meetings. It didn't work out. But the next time I run into him, I'm going to reinforce that conversation and try to continue to push myself with that networking.
Yeah. Hey, we met in the parking lot one night. Blah blah blah. That's a good. Yeah. Hey, it's like a polar bear. It's just enough to break the ice.
Yep.
That's some good stuff. So like for vets interested in sports but lacking the direct experience, I mean, how do they gain practical exposure, through the internships, volunteering, and Seven Eagle, like skill bridge type stuff? If they can't do the winter meetings, what are some other ways to kind of get your face out there?
I would start by like if you're trying to stay in a certain area, go onto a team's website, go onto their minor league team website and look for people that are working for those teams and send them an email or a LinkedIn message, kind of asking questions, kind of, hey, I'm a military vet. I'm looking to work into baseball. Can I ask you about how you got your start? Can I ask you about what your daily work is like? Something along those lines, and that'll kind of help narrow your scope. One thing that I tried that wasn't successful is I emailed a couple of college baseball teams, telling them, "Hey, if you need volunteers, like I'll come out. You don't have to pay me. I want experience." Uh, I wasn't successful with that, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't work for other people. So I recommend that. If you're interested in actual coaching, I think Soldiers Sidelines is a group on LinkedIn. They offer different things for like coachings and just basically networking from either military vets or people that are associated with the military that want to coach different sports. Um, I know baseball just had their annual coaches conference. Like I'm sure other sports have the same conferences. It's just about Googling the sport, the area, and what you want to do, and just doing the groundwork to try to find out, okay, what opportunities can I do? And then just going out on a limb and emailing people. Like I told you, I emailed over 100 people before I was even out of the military just to kind of fact find and figure out what I want to do. Not everybody's going to respond, and that's fine. But the people that do, make sure you're responding appropriately. Make sure you're sending them information back promptly. That way they get back to you.
Yeah, don't wait. Strike while the iron is hot. Yeah, it's because too many times people get their head wrapped around, oh, I've got to make this message perfect, and they think about it, and then it's a couple days, and then you get to the point like, oh crap, it's too late. Now I'm like too late. And then they blow it just because of the confidence.
Yeah,
That's just been my
just go out on a
observation.
limb, shoot a shot.
Yeah, just like, hey, I saw him in the parking lot. Sometimes God makes things happen and you just got to pay attention. Like how big is that parking lot for him to be right next to you?
Yeah, what are the odds?
Mm-hmm. Hey, so my last one. So, like, finally, like, what's your message, kind of encouragement to the folks coming here to, whether they're dreaming big in sports or beyond, how they can turn their service, experience into, the steps to make a really awesome career?
I'd just say have confidence in your abilities. Have confidence in the little things you do that not everybody does. Like I said, the first job you have outside the military will probably be eye-opening, especially if it's not military related or if there's not a lot of military people around. It's easy to stand out. Like it's easy to stand out because your bare minimum is going to be higher than a lot of other people's bare minimum. Think about just the people that make it through basic training, the people who make it through 6 years or 20 years in the military. Your standard is going to be a lot higher than other people's standards. So just the way you carry yourself, the way you talk to people, the way you do things is already going to set you apart and make you successful. So it's just be confident, know that you can do it because, as I said, there's not as many sports jobs that are going to be more stressful or harder than some of your easy jobs in the military.
Yeah, that is an excellent point. It's one I hadn't thought about because excellence is what sports is all about. And on the Air Force side, hey, excellence in all we do. I'm sure every branch has got one of those core tenets that has that with it. So I very much appreciate it. So Brian Frazee of the I can never remember the Chesapeake Bay Sox. Thanks for coming out, former Air Force, spending some time with us, dropping some wisdom. This has been a fun for me. I'm sure with everybody else, because like typically when one goes back and forth like this, people are soaking some stuff in and enjoy it. So I thank you very much, sir, and I wish you the very best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you. And then anybody wants to send me a LinkedIn and ask questions, feel free to send a connection. Right now it's the off season. I got lots of free time. I can't offer you all the advice, but if I can help, I'll be happy.
Yeah, awesome. I've dropped his link in there, guys. Go link up with him. You never know what the future brings. Hey, thank you very much, Brian. You have a great